Are you a fan of watching stuff like Formula One races? Do you notice that the safety car they use, that thing that looks like a police car back there, it's usually a Mercedes Benz AMG? Well, they started out with this. Here we have the 1997 Mercedes Benz C36 AMG. So I'm going to show you around this car and I'm also going to give it a test drive, so stay tuned. Let's start with the front. So this car, the C36, this is what you call the W202 body. Now, if you look at it just from the front or even from the back, it looks exactly like a W140 S Class put into a scanner, then you change the size to like 50%, and this is what you have. But of course, since this is a special AMG C36 model, you get a revised bumper, you get this nice chin down here, that even says AMG right there because of course AMG. And over here, as you can see here, it also has windshield wipers because these are made out of glass and not those plastics which can scratch. Now take note, this was from the time that Mercedes and AMG first had their merger. So this is officially the first Mercedes Benz AMG car. Yeah, then the second one was the E55, which I reviewed earlier. Anyway, now let's move on over here to the side. And in the side, this C36 looks exactly like a regular W202. So maybe you can have your C200, your C180. However, there is this side skirts right here. Then your rims too, they're a bit bigger. These are AMG Monoblock 1, I believe. I think they call this the AMG Monoblock 1. So in the front, it's 225 4517s, while at the back, you get 245 4017s. Now, one interesting thing to note here is that since this is a 90s car after all, you have your classic antenna, which can retract. Very 90s indeed. Now here at the back, well, as mentioned earlier, it looks pretty much just like a W140, but also, let's play a game of, it's like a guessing game. What does this car look like from the back? 1, 2, 3, the R170 SLK. Do you see it from these tail lamps right here? You know, I can see that from a mile away. Now, anyway, again, here at the back, it's very similar to a regular W202. The only defining factors is like the C36 badge. You get the AMG sticker up here near the windshield. And then, of course, this one right here, your bumper, that is definitely lower. It's lower to the ground. And you have these rectangular AMG twin exhaust pipes, which again, you will hear later on in the drive. Now, opening up this trunk, just press this button right here, as with most old Mercs, and you lift this up, and that reveals it's actually a pretty big trunk for a car of this size, especially from this period in time. Opening this one up, and you get a full-size spare tire. PS4s, Michelin PS3s. These are quite interesting. It's also not just your regular spare tire because this is an AMG rim. Now, if you move on over to the right side, what you get here is a CD changer. Haha, very 90s indeed. So under the hood of the Mercedes Benz C36 AMG, you have this 3.6 liter M104 engine, which produces 280 horsepower and 385 Newton meters of torque. Now, originally this car was supposedly just a C280, a regular C280, but then they took it to AMG, they swapped out the engine, they took the M104 found in like the W210 and the W140 and bored it out to a further 3.6 liters that gets you this. Although Mercedes-Benz AMG did say that power outputs of this engine could actually vary because it was hand-built. And we all know that hand-built things are great. I mean, look at Rolls-Royce. It also means that they could fall apart at any time. So yeah, you just have to look out for that. You're inside the C36. First, to check the thud of the door. It sounds very similar to like a W124. I'll start it up. Oh, I love that sound. Now let's turn on the AC. Okay, in here, the first thing you'll notice in here, definitely out of the box, is this really nice burlwood trim that wraps around the dashboard. It's just so good. It's so pleasing to the eyes. That, coupled with these burlwoods on either sides of the doors, including the back, amazing touch. Now here, steering wheel is a typical AMG steering wheel from that time. So it's very smooth. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of the smoothness of it. and it's also two-tone, but there's some sort of like bleeding between this gray and black right now due to the age. But you know, aside from that, it's a very nice chunky steering wheel to hold. If you're gonna turn with this car, with the steering wheel, it's definitely easy. You even have like bolstering at the 10 and 2 position, quite similar to the E55 I drove a while back. Now your gauges, just like the E55, it ends at 280 kilometers instead of the usual 260. And it also says AMG on it, because of course it does. To the right of that, you get your usual tachometer, and below that, you get a digital clock. Now, this car has 105,988 kilometers, which is pretty little for a car this age. Now, moving on to the seats. The seats, they're very comfortable. The front seats, actually, they're very similar to the regular W202. I think there is just a little bit more bolstering. It is power adjustable on both sides, actually. And you also have this power headrests, which is a really nice touch. Now, below that, there's more soft touch materials. You even have gathered leather all over the door cards. This is also soft touch, more burl wood down the center. It has a very similar climate control system as what you get in the facelift W140s or even the W210s, but this looks just a little bit more basic. One interesting thing to note is that fan button for those cars are in the middle, but for this car, it's to the right. Just pretty cool thing to note. Now, down here, you have this AMG cover, like an AMG inlaid with, it says like, I don't know, some HW, I don't know, then some German scribble signature thing. Affalterbach Gemini. No, that sounded French, but yeah, that's the really nice touch to it. The gear lever, it has C36 on it as well, because cool. Then finally, you know, Mercedes kind of like put some sort of cup holder in this car. So if you open this one up, there is some sort of a cup holder. So as long as your cup is like not rigid and all, it'll fit in there. Open this one up, and I don't know how do you open this one. There you go, just lift it straight up. It's just like a magnet. And in here, it's a nicely sized cubby, but it is not cold unlike E55. Now, finally, this cubby space right here, you also don't get cup holders, unlike the W140 and the W210. Now, up here, you do get a sunroof, although it is really small. It's almost adequately sized for a car this size. Then, that's pretty much it. We can now finally check out the back. Here at the back of the C36, first let's check the thud of the door. Sounds really good now back here. Now in here, you'll definitely feel the quality material. So for example, the seats are incredibly comfortable. I mean, look at the bolstering in the seat. Just look at this part. That's so thick. So it really just hugs you from side to side, no matter how fast your crazy driver in front of you wants to take you. Up here, the materials continue. So there's felt. You know, like those things like the weather stripping. Usually it's just rubber, but this one is also lined with felt for that extra quality touch. Now, legroom back here is not exactly the best, although it is decent. I am only 5'6" though, and I have around like 6 inches worth of legroom, and honestly, it's not the best, but it's fine. You don't get map pockets unlike the regular W202, and you also don't get the rear air vents, which is very unfortunate. Instead, you only get an ashtray right here. You do get this armrest right here, which is your only toy, and I guess that's fine enough because this is a driver's car after all. So driving the 1997 Mercedes Benz C36 AMG. Now, just like the E55, which I drove recently, this car is a very good sleeper. Like, if you see this car, unless you know a lot about Mercedes, you might think that this is just another old Mercedes, or if from back in when this car was still being sold new, oh yeah, it's just another C Class that somebody probably bought, the cheapest Mercedes that you can buy at that time. That's the thing about this car. You don't want extravagance to be exuding from your car. You just want to enjoy your car for what it is, because you know what it is. It is an AMG. It has a 3.6 liter M104 engine with almost 300 horsepower, upwards of 200. This car is just the perfect car that you can cruise along comfortably and be also nimble enough for the city streets because of its size. I mean, this car is just so easy to drive. It's so comfortable. And speaking of suspension in this car, over speed bumps and potholes, the E55, which I reviewed a while back, yes, it's quite similar to a regular W210. However, it's still just slightly bit more firmer. Well, this car though, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it. It's just so comfortable. Now, I've rode in a 202 before, I haven't driven one, and I can say that the ride quality of this one and that, it's 99% similar. And yet, Mercedes Benz AMG was able to make this car handle very amazingly, which I shall like demonstrate now, as you can see. Okay, there is a little bit of body roll, but that is to be expected because although they tuned it, it wasn't really like that super from the ground up tuning, which they did similarly with the E55. So I do expect that this suspension would be a little less sharp. However, overall, it's really a great car. If you want an older AMG cars, first you should check out the E55. Again, that's an amazing car. But then if you want something a bit more rare, if you can find one of these, where they've only built 500 units of this, then this is the car to get. I'm testing out the ride comfort again in these really bumpy roads, and you just don't feel it. Now, if you're used to driving like modern cars, like let's say a modern C Class, let's say the C200 W204, which I had a while back, for some reason, this car rides even smoother than that. However, for example, this one, this speed bump right here, this car, after all, is 1 inch lower than the regular 202, so I don't suggest you run this fast, especially if you have like 4 people in the car, because it'll definitely scrape. So that's just something to look out for. The turning radius in this car is really good. The car is very short after all, and it's just super nimble. Driving this in city streets and in town is no problem at all. You can easily see so much out of these windows as well. The A pillars, B pillars, and even C pillars, they're all nice and thin. You don't have reverse sensors on this one though, but it's fine because of the length of the car. Now I'm just gonna kind of like accelerate this car, but not too hard because there's a lot of neighbors here, so. And you can definitely feel the power of this car. Now, if you drive this car very sedately, it's very similar to just like a C200 or even a C180. But the very moment you want to unleash the beast, this thing just takes off. If there's one thing that will definitely differentiate this car in terms of feel from a regular C200, it's the smoothness that it can provide. Because those older engines, or well, even this is an older engine after all, there is that raw sense of power that you have to pull from the engine. So for example, in the C200, you really have to like floor it a lot to get to like highway speeds. But for this one, although the initial pull is quite similar, the throttle's not that jerky. The thing about it is that once you get past a certain speed, let's say like 60 or 70, anything further than that, and you wouldn't have to push the engine so much, which makes it feel a lot quieter, a lot smoother, a lot more manageable for the highways. So yeah, if usually you'd get like an AMG car for the performance and not just the comfort, but for some reason, because of that reason I mentioned, this car is more comfortable, I would say, than its regular vanilla C200 or C180 counterpart. Despite everything I've said, I just want to clarify one thing. So although this is very similar in feel next to a C200 and C180, do not mistake this car for a C200 or C180, because the power in this car is just something else. You have to feel it yourself to experience it. Like, I know AMG cars are supposed to be fast and all that, but I never really realized how fast they were until I've driven, well, the E55 and this thing. Sure, the E55 is a totally different beast, but this one, for what it is, it's a great car. I mean, if you don't believe me, why do you think that they used the C36 AMG as the first Mercedes Benz AMG F1 safety car? Think about that. And of course, if we just give it one more acceleration test right here, that's something you'll never get but a C200, C180. This AMG car is a true Mercedes Benz AMG. If you like this video, please don't forget to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel to see more car reviews.